You don't lose money when you buy something stupid. You lose it when you do nothing. You leave your cash sitting there. You ignore a few settings. You tell yourself you'll sort it out later. And quietly, money starts moving, just not in your direction. Most people never notice it happening. They just feel a little poorer every year and can't explain why. Let me show you what's actually going on. A lot of people think banks make money from risky traders or giant corporations. They do, but their favorite customer is much simpler. It's the person who doesn't change anything. The one who opens an account, sets up a card, maybe a savings account, and then leaves it alone for years. No drama, no mistakes, no bad decisions, just silence. That silence is extremely profitable. Here's the part most people don't see. When you put money in a bank, it doesn't sit in a vault with your name on it. It becomes raw material. If you deposit $10,000, the bank might pay you 0.5%. That's about $50 a year. Then the bank turns around and lends that same money out at 7, 9, sometimes 12%. On that same $10,000, that's $700 to $1,200 a year. They keep the difference. They call it net interest margin. I call it rent on your money. You own the house, they rent it out. You get a thank you email. And this works best when you don't touch the money. No transfers, no investing, no moving it to higher yield accounts. In finance, this is called inactive capital. It sounds boring. To banks, it's beautiful. Now, zoom out for a second. Multiply that $10,000 by millions of customers. That's trillions in cheap money, almost free, while inflation quietly reduces what it's worth to you every year. If inflation runs at 3% and your savings account pays 0.5%, you're losing about 2.5% in real terms. On $10,000, that's $250 a year in purchasing power. You don't see it leave, but it's gone. Again, doing nothing. Then there are the fees, not the loud ones, the quiet ones. Overdraft fees that hit at 2 in the morning, foreign transaction fees you notice 3 weeks later, account maintenance fees that are small enough to ignore but large enough to repeat forever. $10 a month doesn't feel dangerous. That's one coffee, but it's $120 a year. Over 10 years, that's $1,200 for doing nothing wrong, just not changing a setting. Now let's talk about the most elegant machine in banking, credit cards. Banks don't need you to miss payments. They just need you to be responsible, specifically minimum payment responsible. Let's say you owe $5,000 at 20% interest. You pay the minimum, about $100. Feels adult, feels safe. But here's the math they don't put on the front page. Roughly $83 goes to interest, $17 goes to your actual debt. At that pace, you'll be paying for more than 20 years, and you'll hand over around $6,000 in interest on top of the original $5,000. Not because you were reckless, because you were patient. In investing, patience builds wealth. In credit cards, patience builds bank profits. Same word, very different outcome.
Then come subscriptions, streaming, music, fitness apps, cloud storage you forgot existed. Most people have 2 or 3 they don't use, $12 to $15 each, $400 to $600 a year for digital furniture you never sit on. Every one of those charges runs through your card. Banks collect a small interchange fee each time, tiny percentage, millions of people, every month. Again, nothing dramatic, no mistake, just inertia. Now the biggest one, the one that doesn't feel like a fee but behaves like one. Idle cash versus invested cash. Let's go back to that $10,000. If it sits in a low-interest account at 0.5%, after 10 years you have about $10,500. Looks safe, feels responsible. If that same money is invested in a simple global index fund earning a modest 7%, after 10 years you have about $19,700. The difference isn't luck, it isn't genius, it's time. Almost $9,200. That money didn't disappear, you just never claimed it. And the financial system benefits when you don't. Your cash becomes cheap fuel. Their assets grow. Your opportunity quietly evaporates. This is the turning point most people miss. Banks don't need you to be bad with money. They need you to be comfortable. Comfortable enough not to move, not to question, not to optimize. There's a reason banking apps feel calm. Soft colors, green check marks, everything tidy, nothing urgent. And technically, it's true. You're not in trouble. You're just paying rent quietly. Now, this isn't about hating banks. They're businesses, very good ones. They simply built a system where human behavior does most of the work. Status quo bias, decision fatigue, the fact that changing things feels annoying. That's the engine. So what does a normal person do with this? Nothing extreme. You don't need 12 apps. You don't need to trade stocks at midnight. You just need to stop being passive. Start with cash. Keep an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses. That part stays boring. Everything beyond that should have a job. Long-term money belongs in low-cost index funds or ETFs, not because they're exciting, because they quietly compound. Historically, global markets average around 7% a year after inflation. That turns time from a leak into a tailwind. Next, credit cards. Use them if you want. Just never live in the minimum payment zone. That's not a safety net. That's a subscription to debt. If you can't pay the balance off, pause spending. Simple. Not easy, but simple. Then subscriptions. Once every few months, open your bank app. Scroll slowly. Cancel anything that makes you say, "Oh, right." That alone can free up a few $100s a year. Then bank accounts. Check the fees. If your account charges you to exist, that's not a relationship. That's rent. There are banks that don't charge it. Switching takes about 30 minutes. Most people never do, which is why the old ones stay rich. Now zoom out one last time. Two people earn the same salary, live in the same city, same lifestyle, same intelligence. One pays invisible rent to the system. The other quietly avoids it. After 20 years, the difference is 6 figures, not from brilliance, from attention. If you've been watching this channel for a while, you already know how this works. No hype, no miracle tricks, just understanding the machinery and standing slightly to the side of it. That alone puts you ahead of most people, because most people are tired, busy, and politely leaking money. The calm version of winning with money isn't dramatic. It's fewer silent losses and more quiet compounding. You don't need to fight the system. You just need to stop feeding it by accident. That's it. Nothing flashy, no lifestyle overhaul, just fewer leaks and more control. And over time, that's usually enough. Not to become a billionaire, but to stop being the easiest customer in the building. And that's a very good place to start.